Hello, everybody. Welcome to MindsDB, our community call. We got a couple people joining in, so we're just going to wait a little bit more for joining. Um, Today, I am Alejandro Cantu. I'm going to be your host. I'm also a PM here at MindsDB, and you might meet Chandra. So Chandra is off today, so it's my role today to be the host, as well as I will give you a little bit more information about what's been happening on MindsDB lately. Awesome, we got some more people jumping in. So thanks everyone for joining us. Today, we're going to be joined also by Martina, which is also a product manager in MindCV, who's going to help us with some really cool demos that we have. And also Max will be joining us. Max is an engineer here in MindCV. He's showing us a little bit of the new connections. Um, household items for today. If you have any questions, we have a question and answer tab all the way to the bottom. Feel free to just jump in and drop in your question. We'll be able to resolve it as soon as we go there. And yeah, that's pretty much it. All right. Thanks, man. Oh, sure. One thing that we also love doing this in these community calls is like in the chat. Thanks for asking. Please introduce yourselves. Where are you from? What are you working on? What do you like about MindCV? If you want to tell us that. What you don't like, so we can also work on that. But be gentle. All right. All right. So we got a couple more minutes in. We got more participants, so I think we're ready to go. Let me share my screen. There we go. Awesome. So can anyone give me a thumbs up so you can see the screen?
Yes.
Perfect. Okay, so for today's community call, what we have in the agenda, we're going to be talking about some MindCB improvements that we did over this month and some knowledge base updates, and we're going to do some quick demos. So first, I'm going to start with this part of the agenda where we're going to just talking a little bit about the different type of things that we did on MindDB and how it's improving in every way, shape, or form. But the really cool thing is just if you don't let me bore you out of all these slides, you'll eventually get to see all this in action with a really cool demo. All right. So really quick, some of the main philosophy that we're trying to do when we're trying to do improvements and we go on MindCB, really kind of figure out in one of these three verticals, right? We want to have deeper control and observability. So our users or you guys or developers can really have a little bit better tooling to diagnose what's going on in our systems. So this time you're going to see we improved logs. We're going to see some really cool things you're going to see there. On the SQL part of things, right? Like we sometimes notice like there are improvements that we can do to make either some type of queries a little bit more performant, or you're really looking for some really things, some specific. So really cool things about Note this is like whenever we do our roadmap and our improvements, a lot of comes from feedback that's coming from the community, your PRs, your fixes, your requests. So everything that comes in, we try to tackle it, and we want to make sure that we have a really cool, intuitive, and high performance SQL experience. And finally, we're always adding new integrations and flexibility. So this month, I think it's going to be really cool. We're going to show you something really cool in a couple minutes. But the main idea is how can we keep on adding more handlers, more data types, more different things that can be part of this as we go. So thanks a lot for joining and looking seeing at this kind of integrations as we go. The first one is that we improved our logs. So some of the things that we're looking for on the last perspective is like sometimes for some users we're trying to figure out like, hey, I'm running MindDB, it's consuming a lot of RAM, it's not consuming a lot of RAM. What are the different type of queries that I'm doing, and how can I see like what type of performance are they having and impact that they have on my hardware? This is super useful. Like if you want to take MindDB from your local environment to a more like dedicated compute instance instead of VPC or Kubernetes or something like that. Whenever happens you're running to the limits of your local. So now you can monitor resource monitoring. So that will allow you to have this really cool capability to figure out, okay, what's happening on RAM, what's happening on different type of things. But we also have like what's the initial query, there was any error in it, how to fix it. So to log this up. A really cool important piece of it is like you have to turn this advanced or improved logging on your config file. So for in there in your screen,
Excuse me,
you
Ale.
have to
I
have the
think you're
sorry
you're breaking
configuration.
slightly.
Just make sure that resources log it's enabled and what type of oh let me change my okay, got a new connection. Can somebody confirm it? Maybe in the chat if you can hear me now.
Yes, it's good now. Thank you.
Oh, okay, perfect. All right, so I think I'm gonna just do, perfect. Thanks everybody. Thanks for also letting me know. All right. Well, going back to logging improvement, just because I think of some of it was lost. The main idea behind logging improvements is for us to be able to monitor and have better observability on the performance of MindsDB. Now we can enable these advanced logs, as you can see on the screen, with activating under config. So you can go in, make sure they're enabled, and then you can start really looking into more advanced monitoring, not only like RAM usage and like how many of this available. You can also see query tracing, like what was the query, what happened, what handlers were used, and able to like get that performance. So that will get you a little bit more visibility into the system. And if you're having an issue somewhere, it will have you more information and things to be able to debug it. So quite a cool thing from our teams here at MindDB to make sure like you have better observability and that everything is working from that perspective. New handlers. We have a couple of new handlers coming in are things we are enabling now Oracle, like one of these really reliable, Oracle's been there forever. Now you can just connect MindDB to your Oracle databases and you can bring AI, knowledge bases, all the things you have in MindDB closer to Oracle. And we have this really cool system. You just connect it and there you go. So we're going to have a quick demo about Oracle in a second, which Max is going to help us out around here. We also enabled Salesforce as a new handler. So as Oracle, you create like your right credentials, and now you'll be able to use Salesforce inside of MindDB. Get it inside of it. There's also you can like run complex like Salesforce Object Query Language or SQL inside of MindDB. So go specifically for that type of SQL queries if you want to go into that one. So if you have no Oracle or Salesforce, you can now use them in MyCB. So really cool stuff from the handler perspective. And in knowledge base, so this was a big request coming from many clients, right? Like, MindDB, we're an open source community, and we're looking at knowledge bases. Some of the base models that we were supporting were not open source. And well, that changes now. Now we are adding Ollama support to knowledge bases. So you can host your embedding and re-ranking models locally, and don't need to go to one of the uh, pay-as-you-go models that we have been supporting previously. So really cool stuff. Like you can use them for both, as I mentioned, embedding and re-ranking model, and you can just set it up with either have it local, you have somewhere else. You can just use these models and start going into this perspective. So you can really kind of remain your full-on project in open source. And if you want to like spend on additional resources, then you can start running and implementing MindDB on Ollama for knowledge bases. One of the things that also comes into our attention was alter KB. So this is a new syntax that we are going to be able to support. So some of the things that some of our users and you guys were telling us is like, hey, I already have a knowledge base. I want to change the source. I want to change the metadata columns. I want to change the content columns, and I just want to change the re-ranking models. Maybe my API key expired. And before alter knowledge base, you have to like kind of either delete your knowledge base and recreate it again. And that could that could insert in some issues, right? Because like if you change the model, if something's not there performant, then your knowledge base would break. Now with alter knowledge base, you only have to change, you can change whatever you want from your knowledge base and just making sure that it will continue to work. So you can change models, right? In terms of re-ranking, right? Like the embedding model, you cannot change it because otherwise you would break it, but you can change all the way to your API key, right? So I have a knowledge base, I just want to change the API key because I have a new, or I'm moving this into production or something along those lines. Alter KB will help us to be able to do that very easily without breaking this. Also, I think like pro trip for this one is if you are wanting to do a massive knowledge base and you want to insert files from one data source and then insert files from another data source, this kind of allows you to change the metadata columns and that would be more according to your new data source. So this is really cool if you want to build it a knowledge base that are coming in from different data sources where metadata field columns and content columns might differ from the ones that you had on your original data source. By data source, I mean the place where you're ingesting data into the knowledge base. All right. And finally, a couple more like, kind of house clean, keeping the house clean items. Now, one of the things we also enabled now for knowledge bases is that you can also search via chunk content. So select star might make you be where chunk content like color. So the main cool thing here is that before this change, you had to do where content likes. So we kind of figure out like this was kind of an issue for some agents and some tools that people are building with MindsDB because it was a little bit confusing that the results were coming in from chunk, but your actual content here was just content like. So we are now enable for you to able to search chunk content and we'll have the same functionality as content, but it will be clearer for AI agents or other type of query building that the community might be building on this one. So really cool for that perspective. And in the same line of action, now we can have metadata as columns. So something that also we notice is like some of these agents or some of these tools that guys were building kind of required for you to be able to use a metadata column as a select target on knowledge bases. Now with this change, you can actually select a metadata as your select target. So it's no longer just as a metadata filter that you had to use before this. And now you can just select it directly from your queries and get your answers from that perspective. So really cool stuff. Also really useful for AI agents and developer communities. If you want to kind of focus on a specific metadata filters and you want to kind of have a bigger list, this kind of helps out to be able to get there. So, all right. Uh, that's pretty much it with all the boring stuff. And now we actually got to go see the actual fun stuff. So, I'm gonna pass it on to you, Martina, and since you're gonna help us with this side, I'll take a look at questions and anything. Thanks for listening.
Thank you so much, Ali. That was very interesting. So not boring at all. So I will start with that. We have demos for you on knowledge bases with Ollama models, also the alter knowledge base statement, and also we have demos for the Salesforce connector that Max will be presenting after this. So I'm going to share my screen. You should be able to see the MindsDB UI now. Okay. So as some of you, or maybe all of you may know, knowledge bases are objects within MindsDB that can store data, both structured and unstructured data. And knowledge bases store this data in the embeddings format. So that's why we've got an embedding model with knowledge base. Every time you insert data into knowledge base, this is passed into the embedding model, which then embeds it and stores it into the underlying vector store, which in this case is I'm using my local PG vector. You can also define the metadata columns, content columns, ID columns that is based on the data that you have available. And then we've got also re-ranking model. If you can use it, or you can opt for turning the re-ranking off to improve performance on if it is like there is the trade-off, like using re-ranking and gives a bit of overhead. So you can have re-ranking or not have. If you do, you can also define the models. And most recently, upon all the requests from community, we have implemented the Ollama models with knowledge bases. So now I'm hosting Ollama locally, and I can use the available models, and there are many for embedding and re-ranking. So I have a simple example here for creating knowledge base, going through some of the updates, and then moving on to the alter knowledge base statement. So I'm using the movies data, which has basically information like release here, title, the movie plot. So you can see here that the plot is actually the content column, which is going to be embedded by the embedding model. Okay, so let me just create this knowledge base. Okay, and I can then use the describe knowledge base statement to ensure that everything is okay, like name, project, embedding model details. Yeah, here actually there shouldn't be the API key. That's a bug we are fixing now. It's not actually an issue, but it just should not be here. Then we've got the re-ranking model, Lemma 3.2, storage, metadata, and all the items you can check with this describe comment. So next, so when I query my knowledge base now, it is empty. And now I'm going to insert data from the movies table. And I'm using partitioning here because there are over 6,000 rows, so it's better to divide it into threads. We have these features with knowledge bases, so it's useful to speed it up. And then you can query this table to see the progress. You can see now it says 1,000 rows has been processed because the batch size here was defined as 1,000. If I query again, now it is 2,000, so it will take maybe a couple of minutes to complete, or less than a minute actually. And I can already query knowledge base and see the available data here. So we have the chunk content column that has also aliases content, as Ali mentioned, that the content and chunk content are aliases now, and that one can use both. So here we have the chunk content column. We have the relevance distance has not been calculated, as it is just simple query to knowledge base. We are not filtering by relevance here. Then we've got all the metadata columns as columns here. You can also see that previously we had the metadata under the metadata column, and it was sometimes difficult to extract it, like you had to use this SQL syntax to extract this field. So especially for AI agents, it was not so obvious. So we've added the metadata columns. We've added metadata fields as separate columns here. So now I can simply just query it like that. Then we've got also the chunk content that can be used the same way as the content. It's just that the chunk content is here the column name. So also for the sake of some automated queries from agents, it is better to have that option available as well. And here I can filter by some metadata, by content. So these are just sample queries we can do to our knowledge base. And now the alter knowledge base statement. So here there is a specific subset of all the parameters that you can alter. For example, it is not possible to alter the storage of a knowledge base. It is not possible to alter the embedding model apart from the API key. For example, if you use the OpenAI embedding model and you have the API key variable, and you are switching to another OpenAI organization account, and then you can update an API key for embedding model, but you need to ensure that the model that you are using is still available through this API key, so that embedding model cannot be changed, re-ranking model can be altered, and all the columns can be altered as well. You can read details in our documentation on that, but I will show you a quick demo as well. So I have defined the re-ranking model as Llama 3.2, and I've had my metadata columns as origin, release year, title, and genre. And now I'm going to alter knowledge base to change the model to Qwen 2.0. And the metadata columns I'm changing in a way that I'm removing the origin column that was there originally. So I'm going to run this to alter my existing knowledge base. So you don't have to drop the knowledge base and then recreate it, reinsert the data. I mean, you could do that using the same vector store table, but that's still too much of work. So, okay, so once it is altered, I'm going to describe it. And you can see here that now the re-ranking model has changed. Now the metadata columns have changed. The origin column is not there. So you can see that when I'm querying the knowledge base now, the origin column is not here because it is not in the official list of metadata fields. But that doesn't mean it is removed. So the origin column is still available. You can see it in metadata. However, as it is not official metadata, it does not have a separate columns. So for example, now, if I insert into this altered knowledge base, I am inserting all the fields except for the origin field because it's not there anymore as an official metadata. So I have inserted. So now if I query, this is going to fail because the origin column is not there anymore. But yeah, this is going to succeed with all the ones. Okay, this may take some time because that is the query where re-ranker is doing its job as well to run all the results. So here we go. But what I wanted to show you is that after altering knowledge base, I have inserted 5 records. So if I query the entire knowledge base and go to the end, you will see that these records do not have the origin in the metadata. But if I scroll up a bit, you can see the origin is here. So the data, by changing the columns, by altering the knowledge base, changing, for example, the metadata columns, this does not remove any data. It just does, from that point on, there is no more this metadata field. But for the old records, this is still kept in there. So you can ultimately decide that, okay, I want to add this back, and I will alter my knowledge base again, adding it back, and now this should hopefully work. Yeah, I can see it is working. So yeah, I think this alternate knowledge base column is great to have the to be able to quickly test knowledge base with different models or with different fields, etc. So definitely go ahead and check it out. And that is all from me. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Martina. That was super cool. All right. And now, last but not least, definitely Max is going to help us and give us a tour of our new handlers with the Salesforce handler. So thanks, Max. Up to you.
There we go. Hey everyone. Hope everyone's having a good Friday. Just gonna show off the Salesforce handler in MindsDB. Connecting to Salesforce is as simple as connecting to any other database. So in the SQL editor, we're creating database Salesforce data source with the engine Salesforce. We have our parameters here, which have cleared. Um, and then once that is created, you will see it right here with tons of tables direct from Salesforce using the Salesforce data model that we put directly in so that you can query it in SQL. I've created an agent here, create an agent, Salesforce agent, given it an API key. I selected only a few tables because, as you can see, this goes on quite a bit, and I've picked only relevant ones, given it a template. We can also show that if we query the data, Salesforce for context. Last name Abushar. I assume I was the only one there. We see my contact information right here. Um, you can obviously do that for any um, table or data object. We can also have our agent do this. So if we just ask the agent that I just created, hey, tell me about the contact Max Abushar, we can see the hey, do like Max. We can see all the ones that's getting here. Still making queries limited to Abushar like my original query did. And here we go. And there's my real cell phone number. So, and email. So if you want to email or text me after this, there it is. But there's plenty of stuff we don't use Salesforce internally here, so it's not a fully fledged, probably for good that I'm not querying real deals that we're doing here at MindCB, but everything in Salesforce is now accessible through MindsDB with our agents, which is super powerful. And I will bring up to Brad, our lead Salesforce developer and CRO here, pointed out that even adding columns within the Salesforce model. So if you're familiar with Salesforce, if you create a field for a contact, like let's say is mailing list subscriber or something like that, it will then appear in MindCB. So with the contact. So any edits that you do within Salesforce propagate to MindCB as well with our query engine. All right, that's short and sweet, but hopefully, if there are any questions, happy to answer. But that's it.
All right. Thanks a lot, Max. I hope everybody had enough time to screenshot your phone and your emails just in case you want to contact Max. If not, just let us know. Max is also in our community. So, your friendly reminder also to join our community on MindCV or Slack when you have contact with all of us and your questions and the rest of the community if you have any other issues going on around MindSDB. All right. So having said that, we're coming into the end of this. Thank you so much for attending our community call for October version. We'll see you next month for the November version, and Chandra will be back. So we'll have our proper and actually really good host. I think I did my best, but hey, Chandra rocks. Thanks everybody. Thanks, Neil, from the comment. We really appreciate it. I think, like, yeah, the Ollama thing will actually make quite a big difference, right? So we can actually test and do different things and just keep it everything on open source because, at MyCB, we love open source. All right. So thanks for everybody. Have a great weekend. Happy Halloween and enjoy the what's left of the month.
Bye, everyone.
Bye bye.
Thank you. Bye.